Hello, good morning.
Good
Uh,
morning.
yes. Uh, yeah, hi, this is Brain Soup, a channel where I talk about um, neurodiversity and ADHD and stuff. My name is Paula. I was diagnosed with ADHD at 39 years old. It's been a little bit since then, but it's still pretty recently. And yeah, I'm joined today by my lovely coworker Helen, who also has ADHD. And so we're excited to talk about stuff. Yeah, in a little series of conversations about what it's like and, what our journeys of self-discovery were like, was what we kind of talked about last time. And I'm excited to continue these conversations. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. And thanks for just having this channel. I think it's really cool that you do this, which is why I wanted to, help you and play a part in this. So,
Oh, yay. So, yeah, so now today, we're going to get into some more little nitty gritty about how we help narrow things down on what was wrong with us when we
mhm,
didn't know what was wrong with us. And it turns out there's nothing wrong. We're just different, but without knowing why you're different and why and why your brain works a certain way, then things can go wrong and off the rails. And you know,
right.
all that stuff. So, um, yeah, like for me, I didn't have a whole lot of like confusion and trying to solve a mystery. It was more like a euphoric aha moment of like from seeing other people post things that I found extremely relatable. Um, but, when you're confused about your health and not sure about things, the internet is a great place to start. This is getting posted on the internet, so let's just say straight out, neither of us are medical professionals.
Right.
Seek advice from actual qualified people because, as we're about to discuss, random stuff on the internet is not necessarily fully applicable to your context and, should be taken with a few pounds of salt and yada, yada, all that. So, yes, please don't sue
Great
us.
point.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, so, but let's just do a little sure thing. If you were, perhaps um, a little bit confused, whatever, just starting to look into things, may, start, looking for answers, and you find silly meme pages and things start, possibly looking a little bit more clear and, whatever things, but, there's highly relatable things. These can be really funny. But of course, they're just like ultimately
That's a
they're
given.
jokes. They're jokes. And uh, yeah, we'll see how well this conversation goes with me having a browser window open that I'm sharing, because this is probably going to happen. We'll be talking about something and I'll see something on the screen and I'll try not to go off the rails too much. But also, I mean, there's the magic of editing, but let's not be too reliant on this. I want this to be like an actual like flowing conversation and whatever. So, without looking up who the leader of Uruguay was in 1978, let's start another search. Let's try a more relevant search. I can't stay on task. I can't stay on task. What happens? What shows up? Why can't I focus? It could be sleep deprivation, a stress, mood disorder. Oh, do I have a mood disorder? What's going
Oh,
on? Cause seeking to help. Let's see. There's there could be a number of medical conditions. Could mean I need medical attention. You can start falling into a rabbit hole and it can start getting kind of scary. So, did you do any of these searches? These types of things? Like what sort of stuff came up for you when you were trying to figure out what was going on?
Well, so I think what's really interesting for my situation um, is just the timing of it when it started to occur. Um, is I was just, entering my 40s, and so you have a lot of change at that time in your life anyway. We were, call it pre, within, post pandemic, all of the things that had to do with the pandemic, which I think through a whole bunch of different loops at a whole bunch of different people. And so much the same when I were to type in any of my symptoms, it could come up as, oh, you're just stressed. Oh, but I just knew wholeheartedly that there were just things that were just so fundamentally different to who I was. So like I always just think to myself, I used to have a very strong memory. So I was a waitress for 7.5 years, and there was nothing you couldn't tell me that I wouldn't remember on a dime. You could tell me your phone number this afternoon, Paula, and 3 years from now, someone would say, "Oh, I wish I knew how to contact Paula." And I'd say, "Oh, I know Paula's number." And that would be totally normal for me. And now I was in this situation where I couldn't remember if I'd had a conversation with my boss the day before. And I refused to think that that was just stress. So when I started to look through these things, obviously I found one of 100 things that could be ailing me. And every
Did
time
you
I
go?
went to the doctor, sorry, go ahead. What?
I was about to say, did you go on WebMD? Because I'm pretty sure you would have found out, like, thought you had brain cancer at that point. Like,
Yeah, I think,
or
yeah,
that
like
that
there's,
that
there's
one's.
a few that come up first, right? Like, yeah, you should definitely get, scans done. And then of course you go to the doctor and they're like, we don't need to do a scan. You're fine. Like you're a young, healthy woman, and I am. Like I'm a fitness instructor. I eat well, I sleep well, so all of these things, every time I go to the doctor, she'd be like, no, you don't have those things, or we okay, fine, we'll do the test, and no, you don't have those things. Um, and so yeah, again, it always just came back to, oh, you're just stressed. You need to do more for your lifestyle to make sure that you lower the stress, and then that will help with your remembering and all of the things. So kind of back down this road we go. Um, and for me, it was actually, I kind of stopped the Googling because clearly I was wrong every path I went down. But I was listening to a podcast, and in one of those podcasts, I thought, huh, that's actually quite relatable. It was, talking about impulsivity and some of the things that I had found had changed, not necessarily that were um, negative things, I guess, but I used to be a lot more cautious and thoughtful in things, and now I kind of thought, oh, I actually do those things, and that's what prompted me to go and ask my doctor, what about ADHD? So we finally found the path. But podcast.
Yeah, yeah. My medical professional interactions were much less because I had such a strong suspicion at that point, and I had actually gone and done the like adult self-assessment tests that are like um like the actual like recognized medical
Yeah.
psychological field ones that you can find that had the list of questions and like a rate a scale of like how often is this um do you find this challenging or whatever the phrasing is for like unable to like do basic self-care things. Are you able to be a human with
But did you
like who
find that you hit all of those target, like all of those questions? Because for me, that was one of the shocking things for me is when I went to the doctor and we did the assessments, the medical assessment that she had, there was quite a few where I was like, no, never. And I thought to myself, okay, so I probably don't, that's probably not it. But when we finished and she said, yeah, that's exactly what's going on here. And I said, but I don't, some of those things are so categorically not me. And her response was that, not everybody fits into the same category, or they don't present, all symptoms all at once, or whatnot. But did you did you do those assessments and find they were check, check, check and everything
um
aligned?
I I would say most of the categories I had like something to at least some extent. It wasn't like the like multiple points checking like, clinical level or like whatever extremes
Hmm.
for everything, but it was like, okay, yeah, like yes, this is a thing that I
Yeah.
struggle with. Yes, this is a, you know, I don't necessarily, because of how I live my life, I don't necessarily find this to be a problem area for me, but within another context, absolutely it would be a problem because 100% of the time I do this, or I'm unable to do this or whatever. So
Right.
like it because like I've figured things out and I've got, a life context that it wasn't a problem. It doesn't mean that the symptom wasn't present. It was kind of like I don't that was how I was rating myself on the thing. Like it's like, oh, absolutely, yes, this fully applies to me, and it's just the fact that I happen not to need to be in this
Right.
scenario much, because I know that it's something I can't do, so I don't. I
Hmm.
plan around it not to, or whatever the case may be. Um,
Yeah.
so it was fairly cut and dry once I'd gotten to those like official questionnaire things. But yeah, it is pretty interesting and kind of scary if you don't know where to start. Like, I can like that wasn't my experience, but I can imagine it must be really just strange and off-putting and scary if like you just don't really know. And
Hmm.
because we're of a generation where talking about mental health wasn't really like it's not really a regular unit within like school health
Hmm.
modules or anything. Like when like it just
Yeah.
wasn't like there were like maybe vague mentions here and there about like asking for help, and there's people like, crisis
Yeah.
support type things, but it wasn't just like as casually talked about as it's starting to become today.
Hmm.
So like without having the exposure to the possibilities, you don't really know.
Yeah. I think you raise a good point. I think it's important to talk about it, because I think, especially again, going back to down my road, when you start Googling these things, it's, oh, your stress, oh, your cortisol, and then you can start to put two and two together. So one of the things is, again, I'm a fitness instructor, so um, I do a lot of excessive cardio, and that is generally tend to known to raise your cortisol levels, which can then raise your stress and so on and so forth. But I think, when you talk about mental health, um, I think it's really important to involve somebody who is medically trained and can help you work through these things, right? Because again, when you go to Google these things, and like I'm looking at one right now that says common sign is, irritability, excitability, boredom, uh, hot temper, making mistakes. Like any human probably does one
Yeah.
or all five of those on any given day. So you're not going to read this list and be like, oh my gosh, I have ADHD. Like
Yeah,
it's
like we're
uh,
still like all of those things are part of the human experience.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so
So
it's,
I think it is
how do you
key to
judge?
make sure you talk to somebody. If certainly by all means, if you think that that's a thing, go ahead and noodle through it with somebody who's professionally, able to do that with you. But don't, start Googling it and thinking, oh, the first three totally apply to me. I must be in that state. No, it could be other things, and it could be things you need to work through. Um, so important to not read everything you see on the internet.
Yeah, but yeah, I am so thankful for the internet for at least prodding me in the correct, like to question it and think about it. So
Yeah,
it's cool that it exists.
yeah,
Absolutely. You just got to be
yeah.
a little
And
mindful.
channels like this that help people kind of think, okay, this is how other people worked through that, and this is how other people came to understand that. And I can have conversations with people who will help me to navigate this. So
Mhm.
yeah,
All right. Well, another great discussion. And
yeah,
let's see. Next time, yeah, let's talk about um, maybe deciding whether or not to disclose once you have a diagnosis.
yeah.
We're coworkers, so we'll be mostly sticking to probably a work context. But like,
Hmm,
how do you decide whether or not to disclose? What's
yeah,
going on and how that. So that'll be another good talk, I think.
yeah. That'd be great.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining me today, and thank you everybody for watching. Please, click the things that do the things that make the things show up in the thing, and then yeah, do the stuff. Yay, thanks.
Things like.
Yeah, that's the one. Yes, subscribe, click, engage, comment. Whee!
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.